different set of rules.
For sure.
What do you think some of those rules should be? Because you sounded pretty confident they should have their own rules.
Well, there's been so many instances where it's like, well, we can't do that because that's the PDGA rules. And they're rules because you wouldn't want these types of things to happen at like a C tier. Because then you're just leaving it up to the tournament director to interpret that rule however you want. I think the example that's thrown around often is the island, having an island. That's why like USDGC isn't a sanctioned tournament, right? Am I right with that?
You're wrong.
I'm wrong. All right.
You can have an island. It just has to be approved with a waiver before your event.
So like, what's the issue with USDGC?
Well, it's just an X major, so like it's a major. It's like a sanctioned major, but it's an experimental event.
Well, what makes it experimental? Because I thought there was something about the island is why it wasn't sanctioned.
Well, before it was an X major because it was a performance-based handicap tournament. I don't know. It wasn't an X major last year, though, was it?
Yeah, it was.
It was.
It's
been.
Not always, but has been every year recently.
I don't think it originally was an X major, though, right? Because one of the reasons it was an X
back
major
in the
is
early
because they went
2000s.
to stroke and distance. There was a time where it was stroke and distance on OB.
Okay. Maybe that's what. So with that example, could you imagine that was the case at a C tier if you had some hard hole that was stroke and distance where you didn't get to progress?
You should be able to do that.
People would be getting 30s to be emptying their bag.
We have a hole like that back at home. I love it.
Good.
One hole. It's hole 13 at Bootleggers. You play into a gazebo, and if you land inside the gazebo, you have to play from your previous lie. Stroking distance.
Boom.
Okay.
But like, there has to be available space for you to easily chip, and get your par.
Oh yeah, you can easily lay up to this gazebo.
Yeah, whatever par is for that hole, you need to be able to throw. Two 250 shots if it's par 4. And be able to, have a putt with inside certainty.
Well, to your question, I think this is why it has to be different from the Pro Tour, because you can't make these stipulations if you just let any tournament director have these rules, because they're going to do it on some ridiculous hole, and it's going to be every single card backed up to this hole, because the first crew couldn't even get past the hole they started on.
I lost all my discs.
Right.
What do I do now?
You're dead.
You're done.
Well, you're actually disqualified.
Yeah. You finish with a plus 200. You should DNF, otherwise you're rating to the tank. Yeah, I mean, that's the one example, but I think they're all, like, every example is going to be exactly the same. The argument is that the Pro Tour is literally a different level, different caliber on every aspect, from the players to the organizations to the people running it to the fans being there, the whole different atmosphere, and all these different rules that are applied to the PGA. Some of them need to be changed to allow the Pro Tour more flexibility to run better events. You asked the question, what do you think?
I think there should be at least like addendum, so that way, like, obviously we're gonna follow the PGA rules, but like there should be like a but or in case of type of deal. I guess I don't really know how to say it, but like there should be an added page that the Pro Tour can pull from and be like, we're using this set of rules this weekend, because like you're saying, the players are elevated, all those things. Players at the Pro Tour level are required to know more than, someone who just showed up for a first C-tier event. Yeah. So it's a good example of what you're saying is like, the reason we can't do it at C-tier is because, Bobby Joe signs up for his first ever B-tier, or his first ever C-tier, sorry, because he can't do it without the membership. But so he signs up for his first C-tier, and he chooses advanced, not knowing. And the advanced is playing on a different layout that maybe has stroke distance, and yeah.
And guess who gets mollywopped?
Yeah, exactly.
Bobby Joe.
Bobby Joe never plays a disc golf tournament again because he just had the worst experience of his life playing the course he plays every single week. And he's like, oh, I shoot like 3 or 4 down. And he shoots 12 over on one hole because it's an island or it's stroking distance, whatever it may be. And then he's never coming back. Whereas like we need the entry level to be low, so that way it doesn't take a lot of understanding to play the game, but you can still play within the rules.
Low to grow for Bobby Joe.
That's right. The T-shirt.
So,
Like you were saying, there's already differentiations between BC tiers and A tiers.
Yeah. Like
So
for instance,
why-
Natalie Ryan can play at an A tier, but you can't play the Pro Tour anymore.
Correct. That's a very good example of a more recent change they made. But that was
I would say I don't really have a good opinion about that. I would say though that like that is already a step in the direction of the Pro Tour having their own rules.
yes.
Because now the Pro Tour is saying, well, you can't play at our events, but the PDGA isn't saying that they can't play at their events yet.
Right. Exactly. Like they've already set the precedent that Pro Tour can have that highest level of differentiation, BC tier, A tier, now Pro Tour level.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. It's a step in the right direction for Pro Tour getting their own set of rules.
Because they already have a players' association, which is something they need. So that way the players can discuss together, and they can have a board of players, or a group, the president, whoever it is of the players' association, go and then talk to the board or whoever, the group that is running the Pro Tour itself. And then you have these 2 bodies talking to each other instead of the body running the event, making all the rules, making all the decisions, when really the players are the reason they're making the money. Like, it's not for the players, the Pro Tour doesn't exist.
Correct.
Like, they're not just gonna go into Hays, Kansas and find, 30 players to be like, all right, you're all gonna be on TV this week.
Right. And even if they did, nobody would watch it.
Nobody would watch. So the players are the biggest asset to the Pro Tour. So making them happy should be the first and foremost thing, I would say. And obviously, as a business, you can't bend over backwards for somebody, but there has to be some kind of line that they stand on either side of that they can then agree on.
Right. Like a checks and balances kind of
Yeah.
thing, for sure.
nice. They like being bent.
So my thing would be, I think yes they should. I think they should go with some of the PDGA rules still, obviously because it's a very good base, but because of the talent, because of the money that's coming into the sport, it needs to be a little more black and white and not so many gray areas.